Why so slow, you may ask? Pretty much if you've ever used a computer, you've probably run into it being slow at some point or another. Back in the day, it was usually due to viruses, things like that, but that's a little less common now, thankfully. As long as you keep your Windows updates and just follow general security procedures and common sense. So, if you do experience a slower computer, this is an easy way to diagnose what is the issue. If you've ever used Control Alt Delete, I'm sure you've seen Task Manager. Probably went in here to close out a unresponsive program. You can also get to this just by going in the Start menu and typing in Task Manager, or hitting Control, Shift, and Escape on the keyboard at the same time. You'll see there's a few different vital statistics here. The first row is CPU. The CPU is the brain of your computer. It's that Intel chip or AMD chip that there's usually a sticker on the front of the machine talking about. And the usage here, yeah, this can vary wildly. If the computer's really running, per se, you're rendering video or you're playing a video game, something heavy duty, this might be up to 99%. If these other numbers are anywhere near that, then the computer's just running at its max capacity. However, if you're not really doing much of anything in particular and this number's very high at all, might be time to think about upgrading your computer, or else adding a GPU, which I do not have on this computer. GPU is a graphics processing unit. That would be your video card. You can add that to take some of the load off of the CPU. I don't really do much that's graphics intensive on this machine, so I'm just sticking with the CPU for now, although I have a used graphics card on the way, just to see if I can take a little bit of load off the CPU and help my video rendering times. One of the most common upgrades that people need is memory. This is your RAM. Google Chrome is notoriously bad for eating up a ton of memory. And you'll see it's pretty consistent. I have a few different things open right now. Facebook, my own webpage, YouTube, and there's a lot of services that Chrome runs in the background to keep things running smoothly. Makes it run quickly, but it does eat up quite a bit of RAM on your computer. I have 16 gigabits on this machine, which is more than the average machine, and it's using 40%. A lot of people only have 8 gigabits of RAM on their machine, and that means it will be eating almost 80% of that RAM. So while 16 is kind of a high number, it really does give you plenty of headroom to work a lot of programs at once. I don't have much going on my machine right now other than this video recorder, which eats a little bit of RAM. That's that half gig right there, and then the 2 gigs that Google Chrome is using. Also, just Windows itself, throughout the course of being Windows and running, eats about another gig or two, depending on your version of Windows and how many services you have running in the background. So that's another cheap, easy upgrade. You can usually add a stick of RAM or two to your computer. You like to add it in pairs so it runs in dual channel. Per se, your computer only has 2 slots. You want to get 2 sticks of the same kind and speed and size to fill those slots. If you have 2 extra slots, get 2 sticks to fill those slots. General rule of thumb, usually if you double your RAM, you'll be golden. Doesn't hurt to go more. Just make sure your computer can indeed handle it before you go out and buy it. Other thing here, disk. This is another huge opportunity for improvement nowadays. If you notice this number stuck in the 80s or 90s all the time, that's probably because you have a mechanical drive, an old school hard drive on your computer, which means a spinning metal magnetic disc with an arm that goes back and forth and reads it, kind of like a CD player, but much, much faster. However, if you're moving any amount of data back and forth with any consistency, that's going to be a very high percentage on here. Right now, I've got the screen recorder running, which is recording HD video with audio, and you'll see it's not even using 1% of my disk capacity. That's because I have a solid state drive as my operating system drive. My mass storage is still conventional hard drives because they are cheaper, but the solid state drives that come way down in price, and putting one of those in will instantly speed up any machine if you have your operating system on that drive. Obviously, if you don't know much about computers, you'll probably have to go to a tech to have that done because they'll need to clone your current operating system drive to a solid state drive. But it really does make a huge difference. And you can keep your current drive as either a backup in case anything ever happens to your computer, or just use that as a secondary drive for mass storage and just put the operating system and software on the solid state disk. Now over here is the GPU. That would be the graphics card if I had one. And this is another one that if you're gaming or doing anything, heavily graphics intensive, this will make a huge difference. If you're not doing that, not so huge, although if you want to make an old computer a little bit zippier, this is one way to go about it, especially if you want to add HDMI or DVI outputs, things like that, or multiple monitors, which could be pretty handy for a haunt. You could run a couple different monitors in a room with a video effect or an escape room off of one computer that has a halfway decent graphics card. You don't have to go crazy with these. I mean, yes, there are very high-end gaming models out there, but $40, $50 will go a long way if you can get yourself a 2 gigabit of RAM graphics card. And that just offloads some of the CPU, takes care of some of that for you, and gives you a little bit more headroom over here. So that is a quick, dirty, easy way to look at your computer, see what it's doing when you have everything you're going to run running. I have a more modern, pretty solid computer here, so you see my percentages for just running stay pretty low. Google Chrome is a little bit of a culprit there, but 16 gigs of RAM, I have room to go to 32 gigs. May do that, may not. Not entirely necessary, but why not, right? So, hope this helps. If you have any questions about computers or need computers, let me know. I do refurbish computers as a side job, and I'm not going to rip you off. Most haunters don't need crazy computers. Yeah, you need something that's going to be quick, going to be stable, it's going to last a while, but you don't need a top-of-the-line gaming machine, and a lot of people try to sell you that. So, again, hope this helps.